UFC 259, a big pay-per-view card we have this weekend. Excited for this one, guys. Great card. This could be maybe one of the better cards we've seen in a long time. Top to bottom, we have good fights, even in the prelims. Exciting fights all over the place. 3 title fights, guys. We have 3 title fights, obviously, on the main event. Back to back to back. Can't remember last time we had 3 title fights on a card. So this is going to be exciting. Can't wait. Let's do a quick recap of Vegas 20, UFC Vegas 20. You know, a poor card for the most part. Only ended up being 9 fights. Only 9 fights on the card. And a disappointing main event, of course. Video plays were up and down. I did say, Gane and Ankalaev were going to win their fights. Just the value, right? The price was not good. It's hard to lay prices. Like, even if I did bet that Gane fight, which I didn't, there's only 2 ways of playing that. One would be putting Gane just to win in a parlay, but it was in the high 3s. Or, I probably would have leaned to take him by KO, so I'm glad I didn't, right? It went all 5 rounds. It was a boring fight. He did what he had to do to win the fight, though. So, yeah, it was definitely a disappointing fight. Disappointing card for the most part overall. I'd like to see Ankalaev get that win. It was an impressive win. He struggled at the first round. It was a close fight. It wasn't, all domination, but he showed how well-rounded he is, and he's not just a power puncher. So that was good to see from him. Can't wait to see him fight, a top 5 guy in that division. Personally, no best bets last week. I had no winners either. I did some smaller plays. We had Jimmy Rivera by decision. Close fight, but Pedro beat up that leg. Another leg kick win. That won him the fight there. We had Ankalaev in a parlay, but I had Hernandez as well, so that one didn't cash. Moises ruined, and Moises is looking pretty good. He's going to get a bigger fight shortly. Looks like he revamped his career, and he's continuing to get some wins here. I will have a few best bets, at least one for sure this week going. We are 46 and 22, 68% in a 15-month span, guys, on best bets. Haven't been personally the best start to 2021, but we'll get going. Weekly update, guys. Weekly update, system capping update, 10 and 4 PGA best bet run. Had a few losses last week, and some expected regression in the PGA came. Plus 42 units, not including outright winners in the PGA. We're on a 7 and 2 NHL run right now. 61% winning percentage on the season in the NHL. March is Client Appreciation Month. Client Appreciation Month. Just want to show some love to the clients and subscribers, and pick March for the hell of it. 50% off all weekly and monthly packages. Take advantage of that. Super low prices all this month. Just go to systemsportscapping.com for all that information. Also, we'll be giving away a few different prizes and a couple free subscriptions this month. I'll be giving away a signed Pavel Bure puck to a subscriber at random. I'll be picking at a random out of my email list shortly here this week. Also, later this month, I'll be giving away a free month to a random subscriber as well as a non-subscriber. So watch my videos. Make sure you like, subscribe to the video, comment, and I'll be picking a random non-subscriber just to try out the service for a month. And I know a lot of you guys watch it and don't subscribe, which I thank you for that. But maybe you were interested to see how it all works, and I wanted to try to win some money. Let's get right into the main card, guys. Before that, please like, subscribe, comment. Helps me out a lot. Just click that notification bell too, so once a new video comes out, it comes right onto your feed and you can check it out. I'll be going over the full main card, guys. Full main card like usual. We have a crazy main card. One of the better main cards I've seen in a long time. Guys, remember always, like I mentioned last week, shop around for best prices. Have multiple sports books. Don't just have one sports book. Try get accounts on different sports books, or if you're in Vegas, go to sports book to sports book. to get the best price. 3 title fights, starting with the main event, Jan Blachowicz versus Israel Adesanya. Prices here, Blachowicz plus 200 versus Adesanya minus 240. Again, lines vary, so shop around. You can get Adesanya probably, that may be the best price out there, 240. You can probably get Blachowicz at a better price if you're on that side. Israel is moving up to 205 to try and become champ. And some say, you have to these days to get that GOAT status, right? You got to get that champ. And, it's against an unexpected contender. A few years ago, we wouldn't have expected this matchup or Jan being a champ in this division. Remember, Jan didn't have a good start to his UFC career, guys. 4 losses out of his 6 fights in the UFC. After that stretch, he went on a 4-fight win streak with wins over guys like Cannonier, Manuwa, and Krylov, who we just seen Krylov last weekend. He had a slip up. He had a slip up to Santos, got finished, and then now he's on a 4-fight win streak and is the champ, guys. Jan does have 8 MMA losses in his career. 8 MMA losses. Yeah, sure, they were earlier in his career, but he does have the 8. He has been knocked out twice and submitted once. Israel, 20-0, is working his way to get to that GOAT talk, guys. And Jan will try and ruin that conversation. A lot of people are saying now, you can't be in the GOAT conversation, like I mentioned, unless you have the champ status. And I kind of agree to that. So he's going to try to get to that case. Israel will have, a lot of advantages, I think, in this fight, starting with speed, right? He'll have the speed advantage in this fight. And I think he's a better overall striker. This is a classic precision versus power type of fight. Very similar to the Costa fight. We just seen that, and we see what happened there. Right now, I'm not going to compare Jan and Costa, but similar styles. They have the power. They look for that power shot. But the fighting styles are similar just due to that power between those two. I think Jan obviously has the smarts, and he's a better fighter, obviously, than Costa, in my opinion. Israel has a track record, right, against these type of power guys, and he continues to pass the test and shows the speed and precision as the better style. The one interesting thing in this one, watching Jan's training and interviews, I think he will try and grapple and wrestle with Israel. Now, this would be a smart thing, in my opinion, as he will be a much bigger and stronger guy in there. Now, Israel's hard to take down, so I'm not too sure how that's going to play out. I don't know. I don't know if Jan could bring him down. I can't tell you that, guys. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, he trained for this, right? I don't think Jan is going to want to keep this on the feet for this whole fight. I think he's going to want to try to grapple against the cage and wrestle and try to get him down, as he'll be the bigger guy. This is something you'll want to watch out for in this fight to see if Jan will be able to bring him down. I think that's one of the main factors here, and see how much the speed advantage will factor in here. If Jan is getting pieced up on his feet due to the speed of Israel, look for him to grapple, maybe against the cage, and get him down to the ground. Jan will want to stay tight, not allow Israel to use the reach and distance and striking in this one. We've seen a lot of people say that, right? And they just can't. They just can't beat Israel. They can't do what they want to do because Israel dictates the fight. He tells you what's going to happen in the fight, and that's why he's so good. Just like Usman. Usman does the same thing, guys. He tells you what's going to happen in the fight. It's very hard to go against Israel here. One thing to watch for is the weigh-ins. I was watching an interview, obviously, with Israel, with Hawani yesterday, and he said he's going to come in around 195. I don't know if he's trolling or not. That means Juan's going to come in around 220 at fight day, and Israel's going to be 195, 200. Now, that means he's faster, quicker, but how much does that factor in if there's some grappling involved and getting hit by a heavier guy? Israel has fought up it in kickboxing at heavyweight, so he has fought bigger guys, but that's kickboxing. If there's some grappling involved, and if Jan gets to wrestling, he does have a chance in this fight. Anyways, I'll be going with Israel still. I think it's hard to see this guy getting beat. I am going to take Israel. I think Israel ends up fighting John Jones eventually as an undefeated fighter. And it's going to be one of the biggest fights of all time in MMA history. So we're going to take Israel to win this fight. Yeah, minus 240 is not appealing, but, for a guy like Israel, I think 240 is a good price here. So Israel to win the fight, and hopefully that weight isn't a big factor. Amanda Nunes, guys, minus 1,100, 1,100, 1,200. It's different, but versus Megan Hernandez plus 700. Crazy line we have here, right? Similar to those Valentina fights versus Chukagian, I think it was. Nunes had a couple fights when it was this high as well. And, she's highly favored for a good reason here. Not a ton to talk about in this fight, guys, to be honest. Nunes, I think, is the greatest women's fighter ever. Now, her last two fights did go the distance, but she dominated Spencer and de Randamie in all 5 rounds. She said she wanted to prove she can go 5 rounds, and she proved it. Now, was that some ego that she wanted to prove it, or did it just go 5 rounds? Because, those two girls were tough. They were tough. Anderson does bring her, a bit of a different look. Just because she's crazy long. Likes to use a lot of kicks as well, and a reach. And she's decent on the ground as well. If she wants to have any chance in that, she's going to have to play the distance game. So you can see this fight starting off a bit slow. I can see Nunes bringing it to the ground as well. Now, couple knocks maybe on Nunes going into this fight. I don't know if it's a positive or a negative. But, she has a new child. How much has she been training, and how serious is she taking Megan Anderson? Those are the only two things I can put to Megan Anderson's side. And, of course, her size. I don't think Nunes has fought anyone this big before. So that's something to play, to look at as well. I do think it should go a couple rounds at least. So you may want to look that way. But Nunes gets this done, guys. I don't think it's going to go 5. Nunes probably gets, late, like maybe a submission or a knockout early, middle of the fight is my opinion here. And she continues her GOAT women's status moving forward. And, I don't really know what's next for her, to be honest. I would love to see her go down, maybe fight Valentina. But, yeah, that will be interesting. Or Wei Li. She'll have to go down, though, right, in weight and fight one of those. I don't know if that will ever happen, but we will see, guys. Next fight, another title fight. Last title fight out of the 3, Yone versus Sterling. We got about a pick 'em here, guys. I think you get Sterling at plus 100 if you shop around. There are some out there. Another fight I'm excited for, guys. This was supposed to happen before. Yone wasn't able to fight. I think he got hurt, if I recall. I don't think it was COVID. This is a tough fight to call. Tough fight to call, guys. And the line tells you that, right? Yone 7-0 in the UFC. Let's look at some of his wins, though. Last 2 were impressive KOs, but against guys who are years off their best days in the UFC, guys. Faber, who stepped in last minute to get a beating. And Aldo, in his last fight, that went 5. Yes, he dominated. Aldo was in the fight for the first few rounds. But then Yone was too much with the ground and pound. Ended up winning that fight. I was on Yone in that fight as a best bet by KO, and it did cash. Yeah, I remember that. That was a good one. Good stoppage in the 5th round. I remember the referee kept allowing the fight to go, and I was yelling at the TV. Nice decision win versus Rivera as well on his resume. But nothing really much more. This will be Yone's toughest test yet, of course. And he did move to American Top Team to train for this fight. And I think it was a good idea because he was focused on his wrestling at that camp. I know there were some COVID issues around that as well. But, going to American Top Team, you can really focus on wrestling. And I did watch some training, and all he was doing was wrestling. We all know the story of this fight. Sterling will attempt to grapple and wrestle and get to the ground. But how successful will he be doing at it? Yone has good takedown defense. He can wrestle. He even said he may try to take him down. So it's going to be interesting to see how good Yone's wrestling is because we haven't seen much of it. I personally think Yone wanted more time to get ready for this fight, so backed out of the first one and continue to wrestle and get ready for this one. He doesn't want to win the title and then lose right away, right? Sterling has been on a tear and finally gets his big moment, guys. He is ready for this one. He's been training at home. I seen he set up a camp at home for this one, and he's in Vegas now, right? So this is a big moment for him. 4 big wins in a row over guys like Stamen, Rivera, Munoz, and Sandhagen. So these are top of the division guys. We all remember how good he looked versus Corey in his last fight. And because of that, a lot of people think he could win this fight. I do see this one going a few rounds. So, I'm looking at the over 2.5 rounds and possibly the full 5. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the distance, guys. From a side standpoint, I'm torn. Right now, as I think Yan has the power and striking advantage, but Sterling is very awkward, and Yan hasn't seen a style like this before. So, and along with all that wrestling. As of right now, I'm leaning Sterling. However, I haven't got to the window as of yet. My mind may change. I haven't betted as of yet, but I do like the over. I do think this goes a few rounds. Should be a fun one, though. I can't wait to see what happens in this one. A bit of talking back and forth as well. Yan tries to talk with his broken English. But, yeah, this is going to be a good fight. Can't wait for this one. It's a pick'em for a reason, guys. Islam Makhachev, minus 360 versus Drew Dober, plus 280. It's a crazy line in my opinion. This line is going up, and you can even get Dober at plus 300 around the market, which is crazy value. I don't agree with this big line, and it would be dog or nothing for me in this one. I'm not going to bet a side on this one, but that's my suggestion. I just haven't seen enough from Makhachev for this price to be warranted. His past 2 wins were decision wins. Dominated for the most part of the fights, but one good win over Arman and also Davi Ramos, but he hasn't beat anyone for this line to make sense, in my opinion. A lot of hype around him, of course. Next Khabib, no, but he doesn't have the wrestling like him. I think he could be a better striker than Khabib, but the wrestling is not close. And I think Dober is a live dog here. Dober is going to be hard to bring down, I think. He can also wrestle. Big frame. He's going to be the much bigger guy in there. He has back-to-back solid wins versus Alexander Hernandez and Nasserat. This fight is probably the biggest test for both guys in their career, right? So that's why I don't get the line. It's just the hype around Islam and his camp with Khabib. I get it. But will he be able to dominate Dober in the wrestling department? I don't know. Dober will have the power. He could lay a knockout on Islam. We've seen Islam get hit before in other fights. This is a fight I can see going all 3, and a decision win for someone is most likely. It's most likely Islam, sure, but the price just doesn't make sense. You can't bet this fight. I don't see any value in this fight unless you're going to lean to Dober. I haven't got to Dober yet, just because I do think, Islam wins this fight, but I think it's close. I think it should go all 3 rounds, and we're going to see if Islam is the real deal. If Islam comes in there, dominates Dober, wins the fight, I'll maybe buy in a little more. But at this price currently, I will not be on it. I suggest you don't either. I wouldn't even throw him, for you parlay players, I wouldn't throw Islam in a parlay either. But Dober, hey, there's value with the guy. If you're going to put a small play on the money line, I wouldn't call you crazy. But if you put a gun to my head, say who's going to win this fight, I'm going to take Islam. Last fight here, guys, I'm going to go over. It's Santos plus 130 versus Rakic minus 155. This is a main event on a Vegas 21 card or a fight night card right here. Santos versus Rakic. And this is the opening fight, guys. A great fight to open up the main card. Santos is on a 2-fight losing streak. But against the top guys, Glover, the number 1 contender right now, has found himself late in his career, and John Jones. I think he may have won that John Jones fight. I still think Santos is a factor in this division. And with a win here, he could, he can be back up in that title conversation. Rakic is coming off a big name win versus Anthony Smith. I wasn't too impressed with it. He just held him down, pretty much. Ground and pound, held him down. But he did work that leg kick well. So I'm worried that his power, Rakic's leg kick power is incredible. If he works that Santos' leg early, it's going to be in trouble. I have a hard time seeing this fight going 3. There's too much power on both sides. So If Rakic maybe goes for the wrestling and holds him down, it is possible it could go. But yeah, this is a fight you don't want to play with. Under 2.5. Fight not to go the distance would be the smart play here. I would not lay the minus 155, 160 with Rakic. And I would say there's obviously value with Santos. But we got to see how Santos comes back after this losing streak. And Rakic has been looking good and has some wins in a row. So yeah, it is a tough call from a side standpoint, but I just don't think this fight's going to go all three. That's a good play and a good look here. I haven't got up to Santos yet with the value, but I am definitely looking that way. All right, guys, that will do it. UFC 259, what a card. Make sure you order it. Make sure, however you're watching it, make sure you catch this one and don't miss out. This could be one of the best cards we've seen in a long, long time. All right, guys, enjoy this weekend. Also, remember, 50% off all month. It's March Appreciation, Client Appreciation Month. Go to my website, systemsportscapping.com, to check it out. And like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Take care.